The Patriots are heading to their 8th Super Bowl in the Brady and Belichick era. This comes just weeks after the ESPN report of friction in the organization between the coach, quarterback, and Robert Kraft. Yesterday, Kraft was asked about keeping the pieces together in New England. Take a listen.
In life, you know, the hardest thing is to surround yourself with quality people, even in a marriage, if it's your partner. And then having continuity, life is difficult, especially if you're doing things at a high level. Having continuity, keeping things going, you know, that fact that Tommy and Bill Belichick and my family have been together for 18 years.
So you're keeping the family together, is what you're saying.
And the family.
He's the guy that can keep the family together.
There's a lot of strong-minded people, but when you have something good going, everyone's got to get their egos checked in and try to hold it together.
Shannon, what's Kraft saying here?
All Mr. Kraft did. Now, Skip, you remember when Seth Wickersham's article came out?
Yep.
That same day that it came out, they released a joint statement. Mr. Kraft, Coach Belichick, and Tom Brady.
Yep.
Basically, everything in that Wickersham article is true now. This is what we know. He's talking about ego. Now, I believe he's talking about Coach Belichick.
So do I.
Because I believe he overruled Coach Belichick. I do believe Coach Belichick, you and I both said it. I said, Skip, it's not going to end well for Tom. I said, I don't believe no matter how well he plays this year, I believe this was going to be his last year. And Coach Belichick was willing to move on with Tom Brady, even if he won his 6th Super Bowl, and have Jimmy Garoppolo because he believed he could continue on and not miss a beat. I believe Mr. Kraft said, this is my GD team. You will trade Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yep.
You will go into the draft and get another quarterback and groom him and prepare him to take Tom Brady's position at some point in time. It's just not now. You will do that. The egos that he's talking about. Coach Belichick probably heard it and said, hold on, wait a minute. You talk about ego, get egos in check. What about you? I've been doing things. I've been doing all this shopping. I've been doing all this cooking. Been serving up Super Bowls. And now all of a sudden, you want to come add your flavor to it. See, that's the problem I got, Mr. Kraft, with you. I don't have a problem just saying that's what Coach Belichick said. I ain't got no problem. I like Mr. Kraft personally. Skip. This show's not going to end well. They can release another statement. And I don't care. You and I both know this isn't going to end. This is not going to be fairy tale. This is not going to be Tom Brady saying, I'm deciding to go. This will not end well. Coach Belichick is still seething. He says, after all I've done, after all you've seen me do, you still call into question my judgment on this issue.
He did. And I believe his judgment was, his master plan was, this would be Tom Brady's swan song year in New England. Win or lose. And I think his gut feeling was, not that he was betting against himself, but he thought that at some point Tom Brady would start hitting the wall late in the year. And that maybe they would fall a game short to a Jacksonville in an AFC championship game, and it would be the fitting in for them to say, we need to part ways because we have Jimmy Garoppolo ready to take the mantle, go forward, right? And they would have to sign then Jimmy to a long-term contract, and the future would be Jimmy in New England, and Tom Brady would have to go to San Francisco or wherever he would go to finish his career, just the way Joe Montana had to go to Kansas City to finish his career. So that's what you and I talked about for months on this show. And all of a sudden, to his credit, and I believe the ESPN story.
I did too.
I believe that Robert Kraft called a meeting a little before the trade deadline, and he called in Coach Belichick, and he basically mandated, he ordered, you will trade Jimmy Garoppolo at the deadline. The mistake that I believe Mr. Kraft made was he should have let his son Jonathan handle the phones, to work the phones and to do the negotiating for the trade, because he left it in the hands of the quote-unquote chef Belichick, because that's the sort of the order of power.
He's
right?
like a bartender. See, what happened was he done made the bartender mad. So normally they give you a little bit of alcohol and mainly water.
Yep.
He giving up triple and double shots.
Yep.
This is what I would do for you.
Yeah.
What, you ordered a single? Well, hey,
Oh,
take
here.
this triple.
Take a triple.
No problem. As a matter of fact, this was on me.
So according to the story, he called Kyle Shanahan.
Called him.
And he has a little affinity for him because he loved Mike Shanahan,
That is
who
correct.
defended him through the
Spygate.
Spygate. And he had sat, according to the story, with Kyle Shanahan for 4 or 5 hours at the Combine to go over, here's why you lost the Super Bowl.
Correct.
Let me explain this to you, to have some teaching moments,
Right.
because he's trying to mentor young
Right.
Kyle,
Right.
which is a little out of bounds because Kyle's going to become at some point a threat to the New England Patriots.
Correct.
So he was willing to call John Lynch, or maybe call Kyle Shanahan, and say, hey, if I got a deal for you, effectively, I'll take a second rounder. Just release Brian Hoyer so I make sure I have a backup quarterback.
Right.
Which they did. And that's sabotage to me, because Cleveland obviously was willing to maybe go 1 and a 2.
Right.
Maybe more.
Right. And at the time, now, you didn't know that the Texans would step off a cliff.
No.
But you knew it was going to be a first-round pick. You knew it was going to be some additional picks to go with that.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe a first and second, maybe a first and third. You didn't know, but you knew you was going to get at least
Correct.
a one, and probably, or all indications, I believe Cleveland would have given up a second or maybe even a third-round pick to go along with that. Skip. And if you trade him, you had all the leverage before the draft. You could have traded him then, and you might have could have got a first and a second.
Could have.
But you trade him at the trading deadline, and you don't bargain. You don't negotiate. You said, this is what I'm going to take for him.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it. Well, obviously they were going to take that.
But he wanted to give him to people that he thought would be best for Jimmy, a
Right.
situation that's on the rise.
Shows what he thought of
did
him.
not want to send him, according to the magazine, or the ESPN article, did not want to send him to quarterback hell in Cleveland,
Right.
because he thought he would get lost there like most quarterbacks do.
He could have traded him to Denver.
Could
he
have.
could have made a trade, maybe trade him to Jacksonville.
Yeah, could
there were
have.
places, but he knows, like, hold on, look at it. You're looking at Jacksonville defense. They mess around and get a quarterback that can play. And Jimmy, I believe Jimmy is absolutely better than Blake Bortles.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to deal with that. He wanted to have if I have to face Jimmy Garoppolo,
Yep.
it needs to be in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
I'm not trying to face him with a chance to get
that's
you
true.
and have him beat me, Skip.
Yeah. So I know that Tom Brady occasionally comes off as the naive dad next door, posting lame pictures of his kids on Facebook and Instagram, but he is the assassin in sheep's clothing, and he's nobody's fool. He knew the stakes are ratcheting up, because the stakes were huge yesterday.
The longer
Yeah.
Jimmy stayed, the more likelihood Tom Brady was not going to stay. And I've been telling people this for the longest time. They do the greatest job of hiding it, but the quarterback position have the biggest egos. And Tom Brady knew. Skip, why you think these quarterbacks, Tom and Peyton, Drew Brees, they take all the reps?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to give you no chance to see what this guy can do, because the first chance, because that's why they have the draft every year. They're always looking to replace
Yeah.
you. So
Okay.
I'm not going to even give you a chance to get in here with the starters.
Okay, so post-trade deadline, Tom Brady knew full well that his coach was ready to bet against Tom Brady.
Right.
But his dad, Mr. Kraft, said, nope, I'm betting on you, Tommy, he
Right.
calls him, on
Yeah.
you. So the stakes just go higher and higher into the playoffs, because Tom Brady knew yesterday it's kind of him against Belichick. Who was right? You know, who was...
I believe, Skip, even if Mr. Kraft thought Tom Brady was on his last legs, he was walking with a cane, he still would have done this, because he's beholden for what Tom Brady has done for him. He made, Skip, I love Mr. Kraft. He's worth a lot of money. But with all these Super Bowls that Tom Brady and Coach Belichick has delivered, he's just another franchise in the NFL that has an owner.
Okay.
But he's thought of it.
also a businessman.
Yes.
He's looking into the future as well as back into the past. And yesterday he was validated, Mr. Kraft was, because he was dead right in betting on Brady over Belichick, because that guy I watched yesterday at age 40, he looks like he can play 4 more years.
Yeah.
I mean, just me?
No, he ain't playing no 4 more years.
Yeah, he is.
No, he's
Yeah,
not.
he is.
No, he's not.
Well, what did you not like about what you saw yesterday?
Skip. What we're starting to see is that he's not playing these full games. We've seen fourth quarters. We're not seeing, Skip.
They're not a great football team. They're not. They don't have a great defense. They don't have a great running game. They don't have a great offensive
They just get
line.
great in the fourth quarter.
Well, if you just keep him close enough where he can get you in the end, he'll get you in the end every time. That's pretty great.
It used to be he was always in the front. He didn't need to get you. He didn't need to keep him close.
So the guy you saw in the fourth quarter yesterday, you think is in decline?
Skip,
I mean, that's asinine, 10, 11, 12, and 23.
The guy that I saw in the fourth quarter is not playing another 5 years. That's the guy I saw.
The guy I saw is going to play at least 4 more years at an MVP caliber level, and I think he just won MVP at age 40. Wow.
I said before the season started, I said I gave him 2. That means this year and next year. I'm going to stand by that.
I'm going to stand by 4 more years because Robert Kraft is betting on the future as well as, does he want to reward Tom Brady for what he's done for him? No, not in the end.
Yes.
Yes. He wants to win football games.
He says, Tommy has won me 5 Super Bowls. He said that on several occasions. He said Tommy is family to him. Tommy is like a son to him.
So he's willing for the next 3 or 4 years to fall off the cliff in the National Football League just for Tommy's sake? I think not.
No, Skip. I'm saying Tommy's not going to be there. He's giving Coach Belichick instructions to go get a quarterback, groom him, and get him ready to play.
Pliability. You're laughing at it, but it's working. As long as he doesn't cut his hand in practice, he's pretty great.
It looks like all indication he's going to lose both coordinators this year. Josh, I don't care. Look, hopefully it goes better this time around for Josh than it did the first time. But Skip, he's unbelievable at what he does. Now, I don't know what he's going to be as a head coach, but as an offensive mastermind, he's as good as the NFL has.
Tom Brady is the offensive coordinator of the New England Patriots. I think you know it deep down. And Bill Belichick is the defensive
Tom Brady
coordinator.
does not call his own plays.
He checks into a lot of his own plays.
Up next, Snoop is here live in studio. We'll get his take on LeBron, Lonzo, and more coming up.
Snoop, you got that?